Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar. I hope you're all well today. Today, we're going to be having a look and going back to some sort of customer corrections basics. And the webinar is going to be presented by myself. I'm Laura, if you haven't heard me before. And we've also got Michael in the background who is going to be on hand to answer any questions that you may have around today's topic. Today, we're going to be having a look at processing customer corrections in your Sage 50 account software. I'm going to be covering a series of demonstrations within the program, so you can just see how to process these. And there's a few things that I will cover as well, so don't worry if you feel like there is a lot at once. You will get a recording of the webinar in via email in about an hour's time, so you can have a look at it at your own pace as well, so you can just sit and watch it if you want to. And as always, I'm going to be providing those useful links on the guides on our Help Centre, which are always useful to refer back to. Corrections are something that everybody's probably going to need to look at some point in time. And there's more than one way of tackling these. So first of all, we have the corrections feature. And these are features that are within your transactions window along the top toolbar. You've got view, edit, unallocate, and delete. So view basically lets you view the posted details of the transactions. You can see more details along with all the posting information, and you can also see any linked transactions to the posting too. So if you've paid off a sales invoice with a credit, you'll be able to see the allocated credit information here as well. The edit allows certain fields in the transaction to be edited. It might be restricted depending on if it's VAT reconciled or if it's being automatically generated from within the software. But if you can't edit it from here, there'll be a way around it with the terms of a manual correction. There's also unallocate. So unallocate severs the link between two allocated transactions. For example, if you've paid a sales invoice with a sales credit, but realized it was the wrong sales credit that you've allocated, you can now just unallocate the transactions. Before unallocate came in a few years ago, if you needed to unallocate a transaction like an invoice and a credit, you would need to delete one of them and repost it. But now with the unallocate option, you can just sever the link between the two, just leaves them both live again in the system and you can reallocate them. And then delete. So basically deletes the transaction, but it deletes the transaction if it's not VAT reconciled. If it is VAT reconciled, the program is going to post a reversal of the transaction for you. Now, there's a whole separate webinar on VAT corrections, which is on our recordings page, which I've included a link for on the slide today. But I'm going to be covering sort of the deleting the either a VAT reconciled or a non-VAT reconciled transaction in the demonstration, just so you can see what it looks like for deleting them. There are two types of data fields when completing a transaction. So if you think about when entering an invoice, you have the account number, nominal code, bank account, and so on. Now, some of these are classed as a critical field and some are classed as non-critical. And critical fields, when amended, requires the original transaction to be cancelled and a new one posted. That's because it's something that's deemed as audit critical. So that's going to be things like your customer, supplier, account reference, your nominal code, your bank account date, net VAT amount and tax code. And then you've got your non-critical fields. So those are amendments that can be made with no reversal or cancellation of the original posting. Tend to be more around the details of the transaction, like your transaction reference, your transaction details, department, payment reference, bank reconciliation flag. Now, I've included a link to a handy guide on our Help Centre around editing and deleting critical and non-critical transactions, just if you want a bit more information on that or a list of them as well on there. But I'm going to be running through it within the demonstration too, so you'll get to see it when I'm running through it there. So enough of the slides for the moment. I'm going to pop into my program, into my software. Just pop that on the screen so you should be able to see that there now. And we'll have a look at some of these demonstrations. So the first place we'll pop into is transactions on the left-hand side here. And these are the options that I was talking about before. So you've got view, edit, unallocate, and delete along the top. So we'll have a look at view first of all. So if I have a look at a particular transaction, I'll just pick this one in the middle here, go to view at the top, and it's going to open up a bit more information for me. Now you'll see a lot of it is grayed out because we're just viewing it. We're not haven't clicked on edit, which you'll see is a bit different when I click on edit. These are all grayed out because we're just viewing them. So you can see things like the due on date, you can see the reference, the description, you've got your posted on date, who it's been posted by. It will show your VAT reconciliation date. You've got your amounts in here as well, whether it's foreign currency or if it's in your base rate. You've got exchange rate as well on there. And you've got your item line details too. So you've got quite a bit of information in here, which will sort of cover off what you've posted for the transaction. You can also drill down on it a little bit further on there, and it will show you a little bit more information, such as what's allocated to it. So I've highlighted sales invoice line number 10. When I've clicked on view, it opens up another window for me, which gives us our payment allocation. So it's telling me that there's a sales receipt number 22. So it's this line here has been allocated to this sales invoice. So if you've ever got a transaction and you're not sure what's been allocated to it, you can view it, click on view again, so it'll open up the additional item line for you and it'll show any payment allocation. So that's quite handy. Also gives us a bit more detail about the net and the tax amount, etc., in your department in here as well. Then you've got editing. So we've got the edit option up here. So I'll just go on the one just below that. And if I click on edit, you'll see it's the same window that comes up, but you'll see now we can actually click into the boxes. So they're not grayed out anymore on there. Now, if we wanted to have a look at editing, we've got the options of editing a critical field. Now, remember, a critical field is when amendments can be made with no reversal or cancellation of the original. So I'm going to look at amending the department. That's a non-critical field. So if I just come out of here, we'll go into line 1, just to make it a bit easier. I'm going to click on edit at the top, and I want to just change the department. So I'm going to click on edit again. Always opens on my other screen. Drag that over, and I'm going to just change the department. So I'm just going to use the drop-down box. I'm going to change it from the default. You can see here, all of my departments are all shown as the default. I'm just going to change it to department 1. Click OK to that. I'll close that, and I'm going to click save. And it'll just say, do you wish to post these changes? And I'm just going to say yes to that. So it'll close out. You'll see now I've got a department showing is 1 on there. Now, if I just click off it, you'll see nothing's changed on this apart from the department. It hasn't posted anything additional. It's just amended that because it's a non-critical field. If we have a look at changing a critical field, though, so if we look at doing that, so a critical field is an amendment that requires the original transaction to be cancelled and a new one posted for it. So I'm going to look at changing the date on the invoice. So I'll have a look at line 2. And if I go to edit again, and at the minute we've got the created on date was September 2025. So I can type into this box. I can use the little date or the little calendar function on there. So if I just want to go forward maybe as a month, so if I change it maybe to the 4th of October, just change that on there. I'll just tab off it. So it's just moved along for me. Now, if I save this, if I just click save to it, it's just going to ask me the same. Do I wish to post these changes? Again, I'm just going to say yes to that. And you'll notice now we've got an additional line along the bottom here. So if I just click off this one so you can see this one hasn't changed. It's not in red along the top, so that one's still there. The original transaction is still there with the corrected date. So if we have a look at the date column, it's now showing as the 4th of October, whereas before it was the 4th of September. But we've gained an extra transaction which shows the original details. So this is the original posting here. And it's in red, showing that it's been deleted, but it also has the details see transaction 2. So if we're looking at this, I'll just click off it so we can see it in red. We've got deleted, see transaction 2. We've got the original date, which is the 4th of September. So we know that this deleted transaction refers to transaction 2. We can, like an audit trail, we can go back up and we can see what's been changed. We know that it's the 4th of October now, so that's been changed. So that's editing both the non-critical and the critical fields. You can see the difference there. Non-critical, it'll just amend the original posting. Critical is going to post an additional transaction for you, and then it'll amend that original. Remember, there's a guide on our help centre which lists what's critical and what's non-critical though. So you've got a link on the actual slides, but you can find it on the help centre as well if you just type in critical fields. We then go unallocate. So to unallocate, so it just removes the link between two allocated transactions. So if we go back and just have a look at transaction number 10, which I think has got something allocated, we'll just check that by clicking on edit. And yes, so we can see if I click on edit again, it'll open up this window and we can see it's got the sales receipt number 22. So this one here is allocated to this transaction. You can also tell that it's got something allocated to it because it's not grayed out. So if you've got a transaction, so this one here, if I just click on that, you can see that's grayed out. There's no transaction allocated to this deleted sales invoice, so it's grayed out. I click back on sales invoice number 10, it becomes available again. So say the sales receipt, so we can see this is a sales receipt. I've allocated that in error. I need to sever that link. Now, if I click on unallocate on either of them, so I can either highlight line 22 or I can highlight line 10, either will do the same. Click on allocate. Do you wish to unallocate this transaction? Yes, I do. Sort of jumps, doesn't look like it does much on there. But the first thing we'll have a look at is if I go to edit again, just to bring it up and edit the line again, we can now see that the sales receipt, we've just got cancelled in there. So we know that there was a sales receipt allocated to it, but it's been cancelled. So it's no longer allocated. Also, the sales receipt, which was line 22, is now a sale on account or an SA on there. So you've got a payment on account for that particular customer because it's not allocated to anything. So it's just sitting on that customer's account waiting to be reallocated. We've then got deleting transactions. So you might need to just delete a transaction. And you've got there's two options. There's two different sort of scenarios when deleting transactions. Now, if you're deleting a transaction which is not VAT reconciled, it's nice and straightforward. Highlight, delete it, and then create a new posting if you need to. So if we have a look at transaction line number 5, so this one is not VAT reconciled. If we just follow the line along, we can see it's got an N in the column for VAT, VAT reconciliation number, nothing attached to it, and there's no VAT reconciliation date. It's not VAT reconciled, so I can highlight it. I can go to delete. It'll bring up this window so we can check the information. Click delete again. Do you wish to delete this transaction? Yes, I do. And quick as a flash, it does that. If I just click off it so you can see, it pops it into red for us and it says that it's a deleted SI. So we know that that's deleted. Now, the other option is if you have one that's reconciled. So if we have a look at line 3, we have got a transaction which is reconciled. We can see in the VAT column, it's got R for reconciled. It tells me that it's in VAT return number 1, and it tells me the VAT reconciliation date as well. So this invoice has been declared to HMRC. So if I make any amendments to this, I need to inform HMRC of those amendments. So I'm going to have a look at deleting that now for it. So if I highlight it, click delete, again, it brings up the information, just the same as it did before. Now, if I click delete this time, it will ask me, do I wish to reverse this transaction? So we'll get this message to reverse the transaction because it's VAT reconciled. It can't be deleted, but it can post the opposite transaction for me. And reversing it means posting the opposite of a sales invoice, which is a sales credit. So it's going to post a credit for me to counteract that invoice. Now, previously, this was something that had to be done manually, but the software now, it just does it for you. So if I click yes to that, and then close out of it, we gain another transaction on the line here. So if we have a look, we've got that sales transaction and it tells us cancelled, see transaction number 3, which is here. It's not in red, but it does tell us in the reference that it's been cancelled. Okay, so you won't get a red deleted line, but you'll see the original transaction is still showing, but now it has a cancel in the reference column. So it's still live, but it's been cancelled and a new transaction has appeared. So a sales credit, which has been posted as that reversal, because we remember we need to let HMRC know this because of the original VAT reconciliation. So when you next run your VAT return, this transaction is going to pop up. So your sales credit That's going to pop up as an unrecon or a previously unreconciled transaction. You would tick to include that, which will correct your VAT figures for HMRC. Now, as I said, we do have VAT corrections webinar, which we've ran previously, which is just on our recordings page. So if you do want to find out a bit more about VAT corrections, that's a really good one to look at. But I just wanted to show you what the difference was if you delete a transaction that's VAT reconciled versus one that isn't VAT reconciled. So that's deleting those transactions. So if I just pop back to the slides for a moment. Now, if you do prefer to post manual corrections, you just need to find the opposite of what you've originally posted. And this is the little cheat sheet that I mentioned earlier, which is handy to refer to. So if you were reversing an invoice, you would reverse that with a credit note. If you're reversing a credit note, to post an invoice to reverse it, or a sales payment to refund it, and so on. So this is quite a handy sheet to think, well, hang on, I've posted this. What do I need to post to reverse that? This sheet will tell you on there. So I'll pop back into the program just so we can have a look at some manual reversals. Just pop my Sage back on your screen there, so you should be able to see that. So I've got a couple of transactions in here. So I've got a sales invoice, this one here, and I have got a sales receipt. So there's my invoice, and the receipt is just nice and neatly underneath that. Now, we can't just go straight in with a refund, because if we just go straight in with a refund, all you're going to do is reverse the sales receipt and you'll still have that outstanding invoice balance. So what we need to do is we need to first raise the credit to reverse the invoice, then we can refund it on there. Okay. So if we go into, I'm just checking the customer, so it's correction number 6. So if I go into customers on here, we'll just have a look at the activity just to show you what that looks like. There's my sales receipt and, there's my sales receipt and there's my sales invoice just above it. So nice and neat there. We're going to come out of here. I'm going to go to batch credit to raise a credit for that customer. Now I've got them highlighted. So if I click on batch credit, it picks up the customer for me. Now, if it's a different customer, you've got the drop down box where you can search as well. But I've already got them selected in there. Now you can add attachments if you want to as well, just within the add attachment. So if they've sent you an email or you've got sort of receipts or anything that you need to sort of attach to it, you can click on there, browse to where you've saved it on your computer, and you can save it as an attachment. Got our date, due on date. If you've got a credit number, you can pop that in there as well, or any additional references. You've got your nominal code. If you're using departments or projects, you can pop those in. And we've got the details. So I'm just going to say refund. Refund. That's not how we spell refund. We'll try that one again. Refund. You also see that you get a list on here. So as I spelt mine incorrectly there, if I'd saved that and you've got one that you don't use in here, you can right click, you can delete. You can delete them all if you want to. But just if you're like me and you're a bit trigger happy with typing things in and spell things wrong, you can take them out of there. So it was for £200 gross. So this is obviously the net column. Now I don't need to sit and work out what the gross and the net amount is. It will work it out based on my tax code. So I've popped in 200 in the net column, and I can either click on calculate net at the top, or I can click F9 on my keyboard. What that will do is it will work out the net and the VAT amount for me based on the tax code. And then I'm just going to say save to that. And then we'll close out of there. So just to have a look at the activity, we've got our sales invoice, we've got our receipt, and we've now got that sales credit, which isn't allocated at the moment. I've just realised that I've put part refund in there when I should have had full refund in there. So ignore the details that I've typed in there. So you can see I do that incorrectly sometimes. But that is a full refund because it's for £200. So now I've got the credit, which counteracts that invoice. We can now process the refund. So I just need to go to refund at the top and choose my customer, which was correction 6. And we'll put a reference in. We'll type the right reference in, full refund on there. And it's picking up the credit that I can refund. So it's picked that up for me. We can't change it. I've made an error on that part. I can't change it from this window, but I can go along here and I can pop in my refund amount, either typing it in, you've got the little keypad, or you've got refund in full at the top, or F3 on your keyboard. and it'll pop that in there for me. So I just need to save that and close it. And if we have a look at the activity again, we've got those transactions now. So we've got the balances back down to 0 on here. We've got our sales invoice, which was reversed with a credit. And we've got the sales receipt, which has been reversed by that sales payment. So that refund has been sent to the customer. Full refund, not a partial refund. Now you can do a partial refund as well. So just to have a look at that, since we've sort of mentioned, or I've made an error with my typing there. I think this one might have one on. If we just have a look at the activity. Yeah, so I've got one here. So I've got a sales invoice paid with a sales receipt. It's just the same process. We're not paying it in full. So say this customer has received some goods or services in this case. Something was faulty, something didn't go quite right. We've agreed to refund them £100. All I need to do is raise that credit. So a batch credit. I've got all the same details in there again. So I'll just tab across. This one is a part refund. So I'll use part refund. Say we're going to refund them £100. Calculate net on there just so it's the £100 for the gross. And I'm going to save that. Close it. Now, if we just look at that activity just to see what that looks like before we do the refund. We've got our invoice, our receipt. We've credited with £100, which is, we can see it's outstanding. It's in the outstanding column with an asterisk, so it's fully outstanding. If it was partly outstanding, it would have a P next to it, or part outstanding. And then we just do that refund. So refund at the top again. Choose my customer. Choose that one there. And we'll say part refund. And we've got the amount, so I can just pop it in there. I can type it in if I wanted to, or you've got refund in full at the top or F3. And I'll just save that. And then we'll have a quick look at the activity there. You can also go to the activity by just double clicking on the customer. It'll bring up the customer record, maximize that, and then go into activity that way. So there. So we've got our original invoice. It was paid in full. We've raised a credit for them. We've agreed to refund them £100. And then we've refunded that £100 there. And the balance is back to 0 for the customer. So that's quite straightforward as well there. So that's a full refund or a partial refund, and just doing that manually. Now, the other thing I briefly wanted to touch on is the write-off wizard as well. So I'll just pop back to the slides. And we also have what's called the write-off and refund wizard. And this is really only recommended if you're on standard VAT, which does tend to be the main scheme for our customers. So if you're not too sure, you can have a look in help at the very top of your system and then go to about at the top of your Sage, and it will show on the left-hand side under configuration information the VAT scheme you're on. But the wizard is something that completes steps that we've already looked at, and it came into the program before the refund option was available. But during the time I was on technical support, it's not something I saw that was used a lot, but I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't show you it and let you know that this is something that's available. And also, if you're not processing corrections on a regular basis, it might be quite handy as well. And like anything, there's pros and cons to using it. So it's automatic. All the details are posted for you, saving you the time. So it makes it quick and easy to use. So you don't need to think about, do I need to process a credit? Do I need to do a refund? What do I need to post? It does it for you. But you can only use it for full values. So you couldn't process a partial refund. And you can only use it for your base currency as well. So you can't use it on foreign transactions. But like I say, if you're not yet confident within the software, this can be a good way to walk through processing a correction, as it takes you through it step by step. But I've included a link to the guide, which covers how to use the wizard, and Michael's covering write-offs tomorrow at 11 o'clock. But I'll pop back into my system just to show you how it works for a customer invoice refund, though, just so you can see how it works and get an idea of that as well. Just pop my Sage back on your screen there. So we've looked at how to manually reverse a transaction. We'll have a look at the wizard option now as well. So I'm in customers. Along the top here, just underneath refund, you've got write-offs. And this is where the wizard lies in here. So we've got an invoice that's been paid in full. Let me just have a look at it. and show you the activity so you can see what we're going to be refunding. So we've got a sales invoice, being paid in full with a sales receipt. So it's all been paid there. We need to refund it for whatever reason or reverse that on there. I close out of here. If I click on write-offs, just so we can have a look at that wizard, we've got some options in here. And like I say, Michael's going to be going over write-offs tomorrow, but I just wanted to touch on this briefly. So if we have a look at the customer invoice refunds, so I've got that selected already. I'm going to choose my customer, which was Wiz1. It's that one there. Just say OK to that. And I'm going to say next. Now it will pick up any invoices that you've got in there. So now I've just got the one, so I can highlight it. But you have the clear and the swap options, just like you have outside of the wizard as well, where if you've got one thing highlighted, if you click swap, everything else will be highlighted, leaving this one outstanding on there. So it's just the same sort of process for that. But it's picked up my my service invoice or my sales invoice that I've got here for it, and I just want to process a reversal for it. Now remember, if you were doing this manually, you'd need to post 2 transactions to reverse the 2 original transactions, one for the sales invoice and one for the sales receipt. But for the wizard, we're just going to click on the invoice that we've got there. I'm going to choose my bank account. So just make sure you're using the same bank account that you've processed it with. So mine's always my current account. Click to that and click next. It'll let me choose the date, which I can change if I want to. You can type in there, or you've got the little calendar, and you've got an additional reference on there. So I'm just going to say refund in full. Remember, you can't do partial refunds with the wizard. It's only full refunds. So if I click next to that, this just tells me that it's outside of my current financial year, which is fine. So I'm just going to say yes to that. And it gives us a bit of a summary on there. So the account, the date, the total, and the additional reference. So at this point, if you think actually they've got the wrong customer or you need to change something, you can click back and just amend it there. But if I click post to that, doesn't look like anything's happened. But if we go into the activity, it's posted those transactions for us. So instead of going in and thinking, right, what do I need to post to reverse this? If you've got an invoice that you need to refund in full on there, make that correction, you can do that using the wizard, so it posts it for you. So it makes it a bit more straightforward. So I'll leave this open for a little bit longer just to see if we've got any more questions coming in. It looks like we've had a couple come in. Michael's been on top of those there. So thank you very much for answering those, Michael. Maybe if you've got any questions, pop them in there, but I'll leave it open for a few more minutes because we are nearing the end there. And I've popped on the links as well as promised. So there was links throughout the other slides there as well, but how to correct a transaction, how to manually write off customers' invoices as well, transaction details to display deleted or cancelled. So you can have a look at those transactions on there, as all those links on there as well. All very useful from our help centre. And as always, you can access our webinars page at sage.co.uk/webinars. So all the past recordings, they're all free on there, along with signing up for our upcoming webinars. The link's on the slide. Like I say, Michael is covering writing off bad debt on tomorrow. Tomorrow's Thursday, so at 11 o'clock. So if you need to have a look at that and get a bit more information on writing off bad debt, then he's going to be covering that tomorrow at 11 o'clock. But that does bring us to the end of today's session. So don't worry if you think that was quite a lot of information to take in there. You will get that recording in an hour's time, so you can watch it back at your own pace, pause things, have a look at it in your own program. And you've got the demonstration data as well. So if you are thinking, I want to test it out, have a go in your demonstration data. Really easy to get into. If it's not something that you've used before, I'll quickly show you. So this is my live data here that I've got. If I go to File at the top and Open, you've got demonstration data there. So it just tells us it's going to close all open windows, and it will change the name at the top to Stationery and Computer Mart, I think it is, at the top on there. So it's popping me into it there. It's a preset set of data, not linked to anybody else's, and then you can have a look and have a go in there. You can't break anything. It's just a preset data. You've got customers in here, that you can go into so you can have a play around in here if it is something that's new to you. But if you do have everything today when leaving today's session, you will get that survey, which I'd love it if you could fill it in. Leave us any feedback or any comments around what else you'd like to see on a webinar. We always ask that because sometimes there might be something that you think we haven't covered for a little while you'd like to see on a webinar. Pop it on there and we can have a look at including that. Or if there's anything like you'd like to see done differently as well. But other than that, I just want to say thank you for attending and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you very much.